Good morning, UC Bearcat fans. It's James Lewis and Mark Fightmaster of This Dream House, the show that is all... No. Good morning, UC Bearcat fans. It's James Ernest and Mark Fightmaster of UC Bearcats on the Prowl, part of the Grueling Truth Radio Network. Thank you all for joining us again this week. Mark, what have the Bearcats been up to?
Well, first I'm going to apologize if you can hear my neighbor's dog barking in the background. Then we'll get to UC. Bearcats beat Navy 27-20 last week. Wasn't the prettiest game, but not many games against Navy are. Fortunately, I think the AP voters forgot their job to get an Alabama team that beat a horrible Tennessee team as high as they could. So the Bearcats are still number 2 behind Georgia, and then we have Alabama inexplicably at number 3, Oklahoma at 4, and Ohio State at 5. So Bearcats maintained their 2 spot even though they didn't play well. So that's a good thing.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree with you. I was a little bit worried about that we could possibly get bumped down and not even lose.
Right, and James, and I have said this the last couple weeks, I believe. I contend that the team that we need to worry the most about jumping ahead of UC is 100 miles up the road in Columbus,
Yep.
even though they've got 1 loss. Because the Buckeyes went out and just absolutely manhandled Indiana. And I believe all but one of their remaining games are against ranked teams. So, yeah. And the thing is, Purdue was rated 25, and because of their win over Iowa, and then went out and lost to Wisconsin. So now some things could change. And I mean, Penn State fell, which they would because they would lost in that 9 overtime game. Michigan plays Michigan State this week, I think. So there's a possibility of some of those teams dropping. But, James, I worry because Ohio State plays ranked teams from here on out, with the exception of Purdue. And, I was looking at the UC schedule. They play one team with a winning record from here on out. So it's UC needs to play a lot. Well, they need to do a lot better than they did this past Saturday with Navy.
Exactly. Yeah, because like you said, Penn State and Michigan State and Michigan, which, obviously one of those is going to end up losing. But, yeah, Ohio State with playing teams like that, it's kind of understand why they get the benefit of the doubt sometimes.
Of the teams with 1 loss, I think Alabama's been getting the benefit of the doubt, but they lost to an unranked Texas A&M team at the time and beat an unranked Tennessee team, this past week. Well, Ohio State lost to the number 10 team in the country, Oregon. And, they beat an unranked Indiana team. But, man, if those pollsters want to say, well, let's look at how UC did against Indiana and how Ohio State did against Indiana, that's not favorable for the Bearcats. But,
yeah.
I think the way it's set right now, Oklahoma is bound to lose. I mean, they can't keep playing the way they are. They have to play Oklahoma State, I believe. I think they have to play Iowa State. They're bound to drop one of those. So unless the wheels totally come off for UC, I still see them being in the top 4 when the time comes.
Exactly, which would be huge. I mean, gosh, being able to do that is going to be groundbreaking for UC sports.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Ohio State proved it the first year of the playoffs. You just got to get to the dance. You just got to get into the playoff picture, and then from there you can do whatever happens. Ohio State beat Alabama and Oregon, 2 teams that everybody said would kill them. I think the same can happen for UC. I would really like them. I'd really like to see UC be in that 3rd spot because I'd rather see them going against, whoever is at number 2 rather than possibly Georgia or even Alabama. Who knows? So, but, go out and handle business and we'll see what happens.
Very true. Yeah, so, there's just all kinds of great stuff going on with UC sports. Like you said, it wasn't the prettiest game, but the nice thing is they still won.
Yeah, and James, I was talking with, I think it was my dad this week. The triple option is designed for a team that has inferior athletes but superior technique or disciplined even is a good way to say it, because, and I'm not saying UC is an undisciplined team. Good God, I'm not saying that. But when you're running that triple option, and I coached the triple option for 15 years, and when you're running that triple option, one breakdown on one play, and there's an 80-yard touchdown, so they've got to, it's very difficult to play against, and that's why Navy does it. They don't have the best athletes, but, man, they are disciplined. So they held the ball. UC scored when they could, and ended up, it was 27-13 going late, I think, and Navy scored a late touchdown to make it closer. But, it is what it is.
Exactly. Yeah, because that, and then they got that late field goal as well.
Yeah. So it's, James, I hate saying this because it sounds a little bit like a cliche, but win is a win right now for UC. I mean, you're the number 2 team in the country. Don't lose.
So we got Tulane coming up. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. What are they, 2-5?
That sounds correct.
Yeah. Again, I'm less worried about Tulane than I was Navy, and Navy has 1 win or no wins. So, this should, again, UC's got to go out and handle business. And that every chance they get on Saturday, the talk shows, the sports, the halftime programs, and the pregame stuff, they're all going to be talking about UC. And they're going to have eyes on it. And this is not a game that UC can go out and win 28-21 or 17-14, something like that. As a matter of fact, I'd go as far as to say this is a game that they can't struggle in either half.
Yeah, and I got bad news for you, because this is the team that barely lost to Oklahoma. I mean, Oklahoma in Oklahoma, 35-40. I mean, that's a dang close game.
That is. So, it's a chance. But, James, and you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know that we've seen UC put together a 4-quarter performance.
We have not. That is definitely a thing. I agree with you.
The closest they came was Notre Dame, but they played good for 3 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
That first quarter, I could do without. I mean, and again, I hate to draw the comparison because I know UC fans have a natural hatred for Ohio State. But the Ohio State game on Saturday, I was reading a little bit about it afterwards. C.J. Stroud, the starting quarterback for Ohio State, had thrown for 300 yards and 5 touchdowns at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just, that's unheard of. He played 3 quarters and ended up throwing for 500 yards, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how you need to beat Indiana if you are, if you're one of the top teams. So if UC had put together a 4-quarter performance against Indiana, they could have. So,
or if that player doesn't get kicked out of the game, we might not be in the position we are.
Right. I'll tell you what. Did you watch the Ohio State game at all?
I did not. I didn't get to see it.
They talked specifically about that, how that kid getting kicked out of the UC game basically turned Indiana's entire season.
It did.
Because they were winning at halftime. He can't come back in the second half. UC takes advantage of it. And then since then, Indiana's been on a downward spiral. So, and you're right, man. I would worry. And that was the linebacker, number 47. And for some reason, I can't remember his last name. But, that you're right. I mean, you hit the nail on the head with that one, man. If that kid doesn't get tossed, who knows what happens. But, right now we're playing a what-if game, and we're kind of sounding negative about the number 2 team in the country. That's not a bad place to be.
Definitely. So there are a lot of bright sides to it. And like you said, Tulane, we should definitely win. They're 1-6. I mean, Ole Miss beat the heck out of them 61-21. UAB was a close game. Eastern Carolina beat the heck out of them 52-29. Houston 40-22. SMU 55-26. So, we definitely, based on these other teams, need to do some big things to them.
Yeah, don't think that Fickle isn't thinking the 60 spot here. I'm thinking if they can get to 62 points, 63 points, I think, They will. They will. I mean, this is one that they are going to pour on if they can. And if they win 63-7, 63-14, they will do that. I think this is one where they can say, this is the score we want, and that's what they're going to finish with.
Exactly. Yeah, because it's not one of those like early in the season when we beat Miami. Let's be honest, we like Miami, so we probably didn't go as hard as we could have. And then Murray State, was kind of like,
Yeah, those are feeling out games. You need to play a lot of the second stringers in those games. You know what you have just in case. I think that this is one that if Fickle does what I think he will, those starters are going to be in until the halfway through the fourth quarter.
Exactly.
And it's going to be a name your score game. So I'm predicting 63-14 if Tulane gets that much.
Makes sense. So then on top of, we got football, which is going great, of course. But the other nice thing, not too far off, basketball.
Yeah, when's Midnight Madness? That's like...
when is that? That is a good question.
It's a couple weeks. It's like usually it's the week of Halloween. So I would think we're gonna be seeing that soon, and it'll be fun. I mean, I'm looking forward to. Well, I looked up some season previews last week, and they're not expected to do much.
Number 6 in the AAC.
Yeah, that's what I saw, and it's like a pretty solid 6.
Yeah.
So, and that's okay. I don't mind that because I want to see what they got. I mean, and I don't know if this is going to make a lot of sense, James, but I'm more excited about seeing what Wes Miller is than the players he has.
I know what you mean. Yeah, because the players that he has, most of them are only going to be there a year.
Yeah. Yeah, this is, the coach brings in a few players that he knows his scheme, and they will do what they can. But I'm more excited just to see what he's going to do, how he's going to coach, what his scheme is like. Because I'm going to be quite honest, I don't know much about him. I don't know much about the school he came from. I just know that he won games there. So, we'll see what happens. It's going to be fun.
What would be really great is if, he was going to be on a top-notch show in, let's see, it'll be November 10th. So it's going to air on November 13th, and somebody could ask him these types of questions, about his scheme and about his, do you know anybody who should do that?
I'd love to.
Cool.
Yeah, get him on here.
Yeah, definitely. Well, actually, the good news is I do have him on the other show. I got him on, going to have him that on the 10th, so that way it's going to air the day of the Georgia game.
Oh, you know what? And what's cool is he'll have a game under his belt. I think they play Evansville on the 9th.
Evansville on the 9th, yep. So we're going to be able to talk about that Tuesday game and be able to preview his game against Georgia. Yep.
That'll be cool, man. I'm looking forward to hearing that. I'm going to be this is going to be a learning season for everybody, for the fans and for everyone. I think we're going to have to come in with expectations, but they can't be high. I think our expectation has to be that he's going to put a team out there that's going to bust its ass. Yep. Brandon's team, they had deficiencies, obvious deficiencies. So let's see if Miller can do it. If he can put a team out there that busts its butt and does its best every game.
The thing I'm still excited for is the fact is they basically have sold out the season tickets. Yeah, so the fans are very enthusiastic. Yeah, I was going to say, despite all the craziness that happened last year.
Well, right, and they should be excited. And I got to tell you, man, I know you and I talked about this off the air, but I finally was able to get into to get into the arena there, Fifth Third Arena, for the AEW show. Man, I'll tell you what, it is so cool. It is so neat. It's because people weren't really there last year. It's going to be fun, and that place is going to get rocking, and it's going to be enjoyable. It's going to be really fun to watch them.
I agree with you. It has got a great look to it. It's got a great atmosphere, and it is really so nice how they've redone things there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm telling you, people, if you have not been there for anything, because, I mean, really, there were a few, I can't even remember if people could go to games last year, James, but, you know, it's really cool, and when it gets packed, it's going to be loud, and the joint's going to be jumping, and get there. You know, if you have an opportunity to get there, you need to get there because it's going to be fun.
Definitely. So, I mean, it sounds like there was a lot of fun stuff going on. UC football is going to be a lot of fun because of how great. I mean, it's just once-in-a-lifetime season. And then, of course, UC basketball is going to be fun coming up. So we got a lot of stuff coming up in November to look forward to as UC Bearcat fans.
Yeah, man. You know, we're living in the football center of the United States right now with the Bengals and the Bearcats. You know,
Definitely.
So it's going to be fun. You're right. It's going to be a lot of fun, man.
Excellent. Well, for James Ernest and Mark Fightmaster, this has been UC Bearcats on the Prowl, part of the Gruel and Truth Radio Network.